Welcome to Lesson 2. In this lesson we will discuss the protection of the victims of international armed conflicts. The lesson is divided into 4 parts that I will briefly present. The first part of the lesson is devoted to the examination of provisions common to the 4 Geneva Conventions of 1949. Convention 1 is on the protection of the wounded and sick, Convention 2 on the protection of the shipwrecked, Convention 3 protects prisoners of war, and Convention 4 protects civilians. There are a number of provisions that are common to the 4 conventions that you can find in all the 4 conventions, and these common provisions will be discussed in the first part. We will then discuss a second set of provision protecting the victims of international armed conflict, the rules protecting the wounded, the sick, and the shipwrecked. We will discuss the different categories of persons protected, and we will address and examine the obligations of the parties to an international armed conflict vis-à-vis wounded, sick, and shipwrecked. In the third part of the lesson, we will discuss the rules protecting prisoners of war. Prisoners of war are captured combatants fallen into the power of the enemy. We will define who is entitled to prisoners of war status, discuss the question of the beginning and end of protection, and we will also, because this is closely connected, discuss the main distinctions between combatants and civilians. In the final part of this second lesson, we will discuss the rules spelled out in Convention 4, the rules protecting civilians and the whole of the civilian population. As we will see, there is a rather straightforward definition of civilians. Civilians is anyone who is not a combatant under international humanitarian law. And in this final part, we will discuss the general rules protecting the whole of the civilians population and the more specific rules protecting especially vulnerable categories of civilians, namely civilians in occupied territories, refugees, and internally displaced persons. Thank you.